Welcome, everybody. This is Unlikely Butterflies, the 5th episode. First off, I want to thank everybody who's been going on this journey with me. For me to say the 5th episode is so exciting for me. I'm just saying. But this particular episode was near and dear to my heart. Okay. This is so important because when I was doing my research in the state of Arizona, approximately 19,000 children are in foster care youth services, and there's only like 5,000 foster care families. That's crazy, right? So am I telling you or asking you to be a foster parent? No, because that takes time. It's a process. It's definitely planning. You have to have a plan when becoming a foster care parent. But what you can do is you can support in other ways. So within this episode, what I have done is I've gotten the perspective of a mentor and a mentoree. I think that it's important anytime that you're doing a service like this that you understand if it's benefiting the person that is supposed to benefit, right? And so it gives you an understanding of where both people are coming from. I feel like it was definitely insightful, and I feel like I gained information as well. So I hope you enjoy, and please, if you have other topics that you want to discuss, just put them in the comments. It's all good. It's all good. We can talk about many things, it doesn't have to be in one particular scope, because there's so many topics that we could talk about, whether it be the topics that you would have at your grandma's house, just chilling, or the topics that you may have with your friends, any of those things can come up. So we just want a bigger platform to talk about it on. So once again, like and subscribe.
Happy Earth Day.
Hi. We got the I'm like a man, just less a man to mine is huge.
Yeah. What?
I'm a lion cub. Yeah. I'm always getting licked. I was going, I'm a cow. You drink milk from my. I'm a fat pig, I'm a common fungus. I'm just gonna skunk shoot you out my butt. I'm a marijuana plant.
Romeo.
And I'm Kanye West. We love the earth. It is our planet. We love
He's already taking.
It is our home. We love the butter.
Okay, so welcome everybody. This is Unlikely Butterflies, and I have Priscilla on here.
Hi, Priscilla.
I wanted to speak today about the foster care system and just the mentoring side of it. So Priscilla, tell me a little bit about kind of your journey and a little bit about speaking to kind of how did the foster care or the mentoring program really affect you in any way, if it did?
Well, I've been in the foster care system since I was young, like 3 months old, and kind of just in and out until I was about 17. And I had a lot of mentors, and throughout that time there were some mentors that I felt like just didn't care and didn't impact me, and I didn't feel like I really connected with them or that they were really advocates for me and for where I wanted to be at. But then I also had a few that like changed my life completely, like changed the route that I was going on and changed my mindset and just made me want more for myself and made me see that that was like actually possible. So that has been like really good.
So what are some things that you've seen in those people that were within the mentoring system? What did you see in them, like maybe their characteristics that you felt safe with? What was it about those people that set them apart from the other people?
They really like this one mentor I had when I was in a group home in Phoenix. She just treated me like family. Like she really did. Like she would bring her kids around me. We would go on picnics. She would buy me books because she was like, just wanted to invest in what I was interested in. And I never really had that. Growing up without family or parents was like, I didn't have someone that wanted to invest in what I wanted or maybe even what I needed. And she was an advocate for me, even inside the group home, as far as like, you know, things that she felt may have benefited me. And she was always available. It wasn't like a 9 to 5, oh, I could only contact her. It was like she was always available. And that made me feel like she actually cared. And then the fact that she brought me around her husband and her family, and we would go to the movies and do things like that. It made me feel like I was a part of something more than just like, oh, she's doing her job.
And
So
you bring up a good point, because one thing I noticed just working in the field is that support systems are important. They really are to have. And so when you have the opportunity to be connected to that support system in a way where they're showing you things and teaching you things that you may not have gotten from your own family, is really important. So do you feel like that the system that you were brought up in, until, because you eventually did get adopted, we just want to make that clear,
right.
that you eventually got adopted, but do you feel like it was treated as a family environment, or do you feel like it was more like the group homes you were in they were just in it for the business side of it or the money? Because let's not avoid it, they get money for
Right.
the kids, right?
Right.
So do you feel like it was them taking advantage in that situation?
I definitely do. Just throughout the years, I've lived in a couple different group homes in different areas. And I mean, being in foster placements, I was told when I was 16 years old that since I had been in the same placement for a year, since I was 15, that I was either to move to a group home or get adopted by these people that I had only known for a year. And I was terrified. And I was like, well, why? Well, why? And I was told that they weren't going to fund for me to live there, that it was just too much, too expensive on the state's part, so that they needed to find another solution, something more long-term and less expensive in a sense, just something more permanent. The state wasn't willing to fund me just kind of being in a foster home and adjusting to what high school was like and what like that family dynamic was like. So I felt like I didn't have any options. So I chose to let these people adopt me because I didn't want to go back to a group home. And it felt really just like helpless. Like I had to make a decision that was really big for my life because the state wasn't willing to fund me just kind of being a normal teenager and like living my life. And I think that really impacted my life in a very negative way. I wish that I would have had more grace and just kind of more like understanding from the state's part, as far as like the placement that I was at was best temporary, like as far as not putting that permanent adoption label on it. So
That's good information. Look, I just want to give you a hug because I mean, your choices get limited, and like you said, you don't know these families, so it's definitely important to have a plan. I know I had spoke to somebody about like the adopting process and fostering process, and one of the things is they said always have a plan, and everybody in the home understand that plan, because when you're coming into the home, you know, there's other people involved, maybe kids, you know, and you never know how those kids are going to react to you, and it can just be a lot. But there are programs. It's not all bad, because there are programs that will help and educate, and kind of help the process with the daily living skills for those children, for the kids. Which you're no longer a kid, so but you know, speak into it to help you. But do you feel like the programs that they implemented, do you think that they helped you any when it came to like those missing pieces of the family dynamic that you missed out on? So like helping you with budgeting and, you know, education, scholarships. Do you feel like you could have learned more?
Do you mean like as far as like the adoption, like adjustment programs, or?
So the programs that they may implement, like once you get into the home and now they're educating you, and this may be more on like the behavioral health side, but it's just coming in and teaching you those effective decision-making skills and those things like helping you understand how to save. Do you feel like those programs helped you to kind of know what to do when you're on your own, when you got on your own?
If I'm being completely honest, I never had that. Like, I never had someone step in and kind of do that. I think that once I had my son, I did have like a team come in, and they definitely like helped me as far as like just what decisions to make as a parent. But I feel like when I was at the age of 16, being adopted and moving into this new dynamic, I didn't have that. We had adoption like support, kind of transitional like supports come in, but that was very much of like just not the best, and in
So
my
that's
opinion.
speaking to the idea that there may not be a lot of programs out there and as available as people think. So, you know, mentoring is really good in that aspect of like bringing up new ideas. I know a lot of there's been a lot of conversation in regards to the hair, which I want to do an actual series kind of on that, but how, you know, the hair is not always taken care of if you're of different ethnicities, and that can weigh a
Right.
lot on people's self-esteem, you know, and so hopefully they'll have more programs in that aspect. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. I feel like you've given a lot of information for them to know and understand when they're, you know, wanting to go down that path, you know. So
Yeah.
would you do it yourself when you get older? Could you see yourself as a foster parent or adopted family?
That's actually like one of my dreams. I tell my boyfriend all the time, I'm like, if we ever get married, I want to like do fostering. I want to have like a big house, and I don't want to have any more kids like myself, but I would love to like adopt. I really, and I think growing up and seeing how like it can be beautiful, but it can also be really, really nasty,
Yeah.
has helped me like choose to do those things and choose to want to like be a foster mom and adopt.
Look, and you can break the cycle to all the crazy horror stories. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Change that they need. So this is Unlikely Butterflies, and this is actually the second segment of this video. Foster care and, you know, kind of just getting her perspective on it. And so now I wanted to actually ask someone who's actually in the business and who knows what it is to be, you know, mentoring at-risk youth. So welcome, Tony.
Thank
How are
you.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
So I just, you know, kind of go into the question. So, why did you choose to be into the mentoring program? Like, what was the drive for that for you?
My main motivation was growing up, we always found ways to get ourselves in interesting situations. Even though we had a good, strong family foundation, we made some choices that I feel like could have led down a really bad path. And some of them did kind of lead down a bad path. And even going throughout that back then, looking back on it now, it just, if I had somebody that could really help me out through those times that wasn't my parent, that I felt comfortable talking to and that I could trust, it would have been a game changer for me for sure, and for my husband as well. So I feel like, you know, as we got older and got to understand ourselves a little bit better, it taught us a lot about who we really wanted to be as adults, and we wanted to be that person in the life of youth. So just coming in and knowing that I wanted to help girls know their worth and be beautiful and feel beautiful and know how smart they are, and and then help boys understand their strength and their power and what they're capable of and how they can lead and who they are to lead. And so I think that was the biggest thing for me growing up, because not that I didn't have a role model, because I did, but I just didn't really have anybody that invested in me in the same nature.
And that's so interesting that you say that, because during her interview, she had mentioned that, because she was in the foster care system, that she didn't have family around. But even with family support, sometimes it sounds like that you still want to have that other support to be able to help you in those times.
Absolutely.
So you just do mentoring. You're not a foster parent, are you?
No,
Okay.
no, I am not a foster parent. I thought about it, but listen, I'm selfish. So I think I would have a really, really hard time. I am all for, second chances and having families be together and growing. But I think spending that time and loving on the kids, it would be hard for me to send them back home. Even though it would be a blessing to be able to do that, I still would have a hard time with it. So.
And that's really interesting, because you do have people that want to give and want to help, but sometimes they're not capable of being foster parents. So that's where the beauty of mentoring comes in, because then you can give in places that it's needed, because there are
Absolutely.
kids out there that don't have homes and stuff. One of the things that she also brought up was that, she didn't feel like there was a lot of educational pieces or helping her with those daily living skills and budgeting and stuff. So could you speak on that? Because you do have a mentoring program. So what are some things that you guys offer within your mentoring program?
So it's we don't have like a rubric that we follow. We have strong areas where we work with the teens and youth and some young adults, where we work with them on basic stuff like interview skills, resume building and writing, and just etiquette, hygiene. My husband and I actually went to Kenya a couple years back, excuse me, and we got to work with some girls in a preparatory school out there, young girls, and their family dynamic it was not a good one. And so that school was their saving grace. And so I got an opportunity to work with them one-on-one on things as simple as washing your face properly and, taking care of your feminine hygiene and doing your hair and being confident in who you are and, the way that you were created. And so, there's a wide range of different areas that we work with the kids on. And then with us having the club track team and working with athletes, that's a whole nother side of our mentoring program, because sports is a mental game. Like the physical part is real, but the mental is way more evident in their skills. And so, they get hard on themselves, and then they're, losing focus, and then they can't figure out where things went wrong. And they're thinking it's because, they move their feet the wrong way or something like that, but they're getting in their head. And so we in turn offer that side of mentoring and just, reassuring them and offering tools that will last them the rest of their life. That's going to help them not just right now, but to sustain them throughout adulthood. So
like you're teaching them how to fish versus just giving them the loaves.
Absolutely.
I do think it's important. I know on I think our around episode 2, we talked about the focus and being able to utilize exercising as a way to, focus when you need to, and having that clarity, because it can be stressful. Daily life can be stressful. So just imagine what foster care you have to go through, and it's important. And there's a lot of kids out here that need that support, so what would you suggest for people who want to be foster parents? What type of ongoing education do you feel like they need in order to be fully equipped to be a foster parent?
You know what? I think it's much like being a regular parent. Like we are learning stuff every day. There's always something new that I learn about my kids, and they're my kids. So with being a foster parent, I think they're presented with a bigger challenge because they don't know the kid like that. And then depending on if cultures cross, that's a big key. Like you have to, I feel like it's very important if you're going to foster a child from another culture to be educated on their culture so that you can continue to help them to embrace their culture, because it's important to them in the long run. You know, even if they don't stay with you for long term, at least they know that while they were with you, not only were they getting the love and nurturing that they needed, but they were also getting the culture side of things that they need. And then just how to be able to get through difficult situations, being able to help them through those difficult situations and not have the meltdowns, and just know how to communicate. Definitely educate yourself on communication, because every kid is different, even in your own house. Like all your kids are different. And so you have to know how to communicate with them differently. And so communicating with your own children versus children that you're having come into your home, you have to be on top of your communication skills for sure.
I like how, you say that embracing culture helps them. And the fact that you, in your mentoring program, you like to work on the whole person, and just with educating them and embracing it, that's going to help their self-esteem. That's going to help empower them to know that through adversity, they can continue forward. So it's definitely important. So I know earlier you mentioned your mentoring track. Can you give the people some of that information just so that they know kind of what you do?
So, excuse me, within our organization, so we have a whole mentoring program, but a good piece of that organization is our club track team. And my husband is the head coach, sprint coach, and jump coach right now. And I am the mentor. I am the coach. So I work with the kids on the mental side of things, and the educational side of things. I think a lot of people don't really know, because they never really, they sign the kids up for track. And so they're coming out there to have the kids run and do their thing. But I don't think they ever really take the time to research what all services are available to them through our program. And so we do, like the grade checks, and if the kids are having struggles, we offer tutoring, just different things like that. We offer one-on-one coaching with the kids, especially if it's a situation where, track is going to be their passion, or they have found a sport of their passion, because we work with other athletes as well. I have a couple of hockey players, football players. So, but once they find their sport of passion, and if that's what's really driving them, then we sit down with them and we come up with a game plan to help them to really excel in that area. And then it builds their confidence. It really strengthens them mind, body, and spiritually. And it's important to us that they have all of that. So.
And you are stationed in Gilbert, so I know some people may not want to travel, but the thing is that it is important because of the exercising piece. So even if you may not be able to get to those resources because of financial disparities or, the timing, you can do some of these things in your own home.
Absolutely.
I have a lot of parents that listen too. So just going outside with your kid, exercising, taking walks, those are also big in their life, if you're not able to get to the resources.
Yeah.
So yes. And speaking of culture, you also have something coming up in June, right?
Yes. So our organization is putting together a Juneteenth celebration for the East Valley. It will be held in Queen Creek at Founders Park. So it's going to be June 19th, which is a Saturday, from 5 to 9. We're doing it in the evening because we know how hot it gets here in Arizona. So we're going to try to keep it during the cooler hours, but it's going to be a really good time. Our biggest goal for this celebration is education. We want people to understand why it's important that we all celebrate, not just African Americans, but everybody as a whole within the community, why it's important for everybody to celebrate, because right now, more than ever, it's important for unity. We need it. We need it as a culture. We need it as a community. We need it as a country. So we just really want everybody to come out and celebrate and have a good time, eat some good food, listen to some good music.
I
And
like to eat, so I'll be
yes.
And you know what, too? Just educating each other on how to treat each other,
Absolutely.
It can be a struggle, perception is big, and people may look at it like, oh, she thinks she's better than me or this, but it's not what that's about.
Not at all.
Coming together and healing one another and helping one another. you know, and finding a friend in people, you know. So my last
Yes.
question for you is, who are your top 5 heroes?
So that one's hard for me. I don't even know if I have 5. I can go with probably a top 3.
Okay.
Um, my number 1 top hero is Esther in the Bible. I absolutely love everything about her story. Just to be a brave woman in her time and to stand up for what she needed to at that time. And I feel like everybody needs a voice if they can't speak for themselves. Everybody needs a voice. And through our program, I feel like we give them the opportunity to have that voice. And so for me, everything that she stands for, I just absolutely adore. And so she's my number 1 right there. My very close number 2, and she's second to none, is going to be my mom, of course. She's a hard worker, and she has always been very diligent in everything that she does. She's strategic, and she's focused, and she just loves people. And I love that about her. It doesn't matter what they have going on. There's always she just doesn't judge. And I think that's honorable, because it's hard to go throughout life and not be like, oh, whoa, you know what I mean? But I've never seen a side of her like that. And I love that about her. So that is my close second, but still second to none. And then my third is my husband. Anybody that can put up with me, definitely hero status. He works hard, and he doesn't just work hard for the family, but he works hard for just people in general, for the kids that we work with. He goes above and beyond all the time. I think my biggest thing with him would be just sitting back and watching the growth over the years. We've been together since he was 14. So watching that whole process play out has been amazing, and watching the man that he's become and the role model that he is for not just our kids, but other kids, it's very humbling. So
That's amazing. You know, you just opened Pandora's box, because I like to educate people on my show, and you just brought up family, you know, and the dynamic of being married. You know, it is a beautiful thing, and
oh yeah,
kids need to see that. I'm not saying single parents, they're in the wrong, because I was raised by a single parent, but I think it's very beautiful when it comes to those dynamics, because then the weight is not always just on one person, you know, and it's that balance, you know. And sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's okay, but then that's why we need these mentoring programs.
absolutely.
To balance it out. It all works together. I was just listening to TD Jackson, because I'm a fan, but one of the things he asked is, are you just existing? You know, and that was a big question. Are you just existing? Are you just singing in the shower, you know, or are you just doing hair at home? Like, how are you sharing the talents and the skills? And so what we've done today is showed people how they can use those talents and skills through mentoring.
Yeah.
You know, and it may not be, once again, it may not be through an actual resource. It could be in the home, like just doing those things in the home until you can get to that place where you can probably pass the baton on to a resource, or
absolutely.
Because it takes a community. So
yeah, for sure.
So much. I appreciate you. I'm definitely gonna have you on again, just because. But do you have anything else for the people?
Not that I can think of. I just take that extra time. At the beginning of the pandemic, I did a podcast, and I called it Quarantine, TEEN. And in there, I talked about the importance of having that time with the kids and exercising in the home and getting to know them on a deeper level. And it doesn't take a degree or, a whole bunch of school to really be able to be a mentor to your kid or even the neighbor kid. Like, these kids need something. And so I think it's important for everybody to know that everybody has the opportunity to really make a difference in somebody's life. And the change has to start somewhere. So, all it takes is one person. Once that change starts, it just grows from there. So I am so grateful that you allowed me to come and join you today. Thank you so much. And it's been a blast. So hopefully everything that you needed to know, I was able to provide. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, and you have a good day.
You too. Thanks.
Do 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 do.